Hello guys, and welcome back to a new video. So today we are going to talk about cargo cults and what are those exactly. So there's an island in Melanesia where something apparently weird has been observed. So you have a bunch of men that have no shirt typically, right? On whose chest is written USA, and they kind of march. They have a stick in their hands, like a bamboo stick, a big one or relatively big one, and they seem to march, and they do seem to do some physical activities. Physical activities that are not that heavy though, right? Because there's no traditional activities typical of those people that live there, like fishing, for instance. They seem to march though. They might do some push-ups or some work out, like a light workout, and at a certain point they're waiting. And you could see them, first of all, placing themselves in formation, in what it seems to be a military formation, and then kind of like moving their head up to the sky. And then they stop. And there's nothing else that goes on. Because the tradition there is that if you do that, then a metal bird would appear. The metal bird we're talking about is a cargo, is a military cargo that would transport them to a place, a clearing in the forest, where they would carry out their presupposed alleged activity. But none of that happens really. None of that happens, and that means that they're standing there waiting for their metal bird to appear, receiving instruction from the main guy, but nothing happens. So why do they do that? During the Second World War, people from Melanesia and people from Vanuatu, for instance, observed that US troops army would carry out non-productive activities. Non-productive activities which will not be classified as fishing or hunting or any of those activities that would provide immediately food. But then by executing this movements, this light workout, this marching, they would receive from metal birds appearing from the sky, they would receive every type of good. Every type of good means certainly food, first and foremost, but also medicines, and everything was necessary. People from those islands thought of cargoes, of military cargoes, as the direct manifestation of their gods. Specifically, they thought of them as gifts given by gods, and gods be perceived as their own ancestor. So what happens after the Second World War is the reproduction reenactment of what they have seen those military guys do in period of wartime. And that is how cargo cults, this is a term that appeared in an Australian magazine, cargo cults appeared into existence. Basically, cargo cults are majorly due to two factors. One, we have already mentioned it, was what they have seen US military be doing in period of wartime. But there are two major factors that can be considered here. One is what happened to those people, what happened to indigenous people of Melanesia, for instance, during that period of time. And what happens is that Australian, but also US, but also Japanese troops kind of like enslaved them, forced and coaxed them into producing slave labor, right? Because they were the ones who would not get involved and their territory was being used as a military base. So they left the indigenous people by not harming them, but not explaining to them the international context. They left them powerless, there to carry out normal mundane activities, but at the same time powerless, and just like waiting in order to receive some extra food or some extra tool or something that was considered useful at the time. And the second thing that happened was the process of missionization, where missionaries were basically severely punishing indigenous people for carrying out their own rituals. So chiefs of local tribes started to reenact what they had seen, so that they could feel powerful as opposed to powerless, because now they were the ones reenacting the scene that had saw. And there is no metal bird that appears from the sky, there is no cargo that gives them food, but this is a ritual that is still continuous to this date. We might find it pretty logical, like many rituals might seem to be pre-logical or non-logical. We might find it a nonsense, we might even find it stupid, but in actuality we do know that in our society rituals are extremely important. For instance, there was a research that was carried out, and it was asked to a group of people to predict the likelihood of success at shooting the ball in a basketball game. And it was shown to them recorded images of players practicing a ritual just right before shooting the ball. And the prediction goes much higher when the witnesses, the observers, do actually observe rituals being displayed just right before the act. So the importance of ritual is very calming, and it can relieve stress. For instance, women Hindu that pray at the temple have reportedly done that because it calms them down, it relieves the stress. Having a repeated activity that you do, it helps you regulate the level of anxiety you could have towards a certain situation. And that would in part at least explain why we're witnessing the scenes of cargo cults nowadays. Although overall it was pretty fascinating, because we tend to be very rational and rationalize everything nowadays, which has some pros, undeniably, but we have almost gotten to the point of judging as nonsensical every other activity that though is being displayed and is comforting for different reasons, and we have started to judge that kind of activity as nonsensical, whereas there is a utility, there is a usefulness in doing that, just to cope with the current situation. And I find it fascinating that this man could just pretend to be military people, military personnel, and that they kind of have or do deny in part their own identity by having USA painted, spray painted on their chest, and every day would carry out these activities. But anyway, I will leave the comment to you guys, so let us know what you think of cargo cults and if you were aware of this. We're here waiting to read your comments, and in the meantime don't forget to like the video if you have enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk next time in a new different video with a new different topic. We'll talk some more next time. Bye!